The headquarters staff of Einsatzgruppen D is in the dock. The commander was a defendant Ohlendorf, and his deputy was a defendant Cyber. Ohlendorf's adjutant was a defendant Schubert. A subunit of Ohlendorf's command, Einsatzkommando 12, was commanded by the defendant Noska. A third unit of Einsatzgruppe D, Sonderkommando 10B, was led by one Poestra, who is now deceased. Poestra's deputy was the defendant Ruhl. During the first 9 months of Ohlendorf's year in command of Einsatzgruppe D, this force destroyed more than 90,000 human beings. These thousands, killed at an average rate of 340 per day, were variously denominated Jews, Gypsies, Asiatics, and undesirables. Between 16 November and 15 December 1941, this Einsatzgruppe killed an average of 700 human beings per day for the whole 30-day period.
In 1943, the court record-making system was maintained in Einsatzgruppe D to keep track of the people slaughtered. But tell us now, who reported for Einsatzkommando 12, say during the first 6 months of its operation, the killings by Einsatzkommando 12 to you? You relied on Noski for truthful reporting of the numbers killed by his unit. The figure 90,000 is the best estimate you can give at this moment. I take it we must continue to read that with the qualification which you gave in direct testimony that you think there's a great deal of exaggeration in it.
Mr. Heath, I do not understand the witness to say that he regarded the figure 90,000 to be an exaggeration. He stated not only here, but before the International Military Tribunal, that his estimate of the number killed by the Einsatzgruppe D during the time that he was in charge was 90,000. And he comes to that conclusion from the reports. And that is what I understand he says today.
I agree.
Daher konnte ich nur wiederholen, es sind 90.000 gemeldet worden.
Witness, you may not agree with what I stated, but you will have to agree then and what he said today, namely that his estimate of 90,000 is based upon the reports which he personally saw.
That's right, sir.
On 29 September, 137 days ago, the prosecution outlined the evidence in support of the indictment, which has been brought against these defendants. On 30 September 1947, 136 days ago, the prosecution rested its case. In view of the nature of the crimes charged here and the conclusive documentary proof in support thereof, the desperate nonsense which has been chattered here during the 21 intervening weeks may jar the ear, but it can hardly... I will first summarize very briefly what the prosecution's evidence showed with respect to the organized program of murder of which these men are the chief surviving executors. It is only too well known that anti-Semitism was a cardinal point of Nazi ideology. Throughout the early years of the Third Reich, the Jews of Germany were subjected to ever more severe restrictions, persecutions, and barbarities. And by 1939, life in Germany was all but intolerable for them. No one, at least for centuries, had ever tried to eradicate an entire national and racial group, and it rapidly became apparent that such a project was an ambitious undertaking. Other defendants claim that the units under their command did not carry out the order for the killing of Jews and Gypsies and government officials and other undesirables. And with respect to reports showing that their units did in fact execute large numbers of people, the excuse is given that the victims were either proven criminals or were all executed by way of reprisal in the course of the anti-partisan warfare being waged behind the front in Russia. And the third point, made by numerous defendants, is that they acted under the compulsion of superior orders. The crime involved in this case is murder, deliberate, premeditated murder, murder on a gigantic scale, murder committed for the worst of all possible motives. Some of these defendants still believe that what they did was not murder because the victims were Jews. No system of domestic or international penal law could possibly survive under which the determination of guilt for murder is governed by the political or religious creed or racial origin of the victim. It is vitally important to the peace of the world that no such doctrine gain currency among nations. We earnestly suggest to the court that true judicial wisdom in this case counsels firmness rather than leniency to those adjudged guilty of this terrible crime against humanity.
The final statements of the individual defendants. We will begin with the defendant Ohlendorf.
Der Literatur, die sich in den letzten 2 Jahren ernsthaft mit dem Nationalsozialismus auseinandersetzte, insbesondere in der kirchlichen Literatur, ist unbestritten, dass der Nationalsozialismus nicht eine geistige Krise verursacht hat, sondern in einer solchen erschienen ist. Einen festen Anhaltspunkt mehr, der ihn insgesamt geführt, die Motive für sein Wollen gesetzt hätte. Die religiösen Werte und Gesetze nahmen in seinem Fühlen, Denken und Handeln einen immer kleineren Raum ein. Soweit die christlichen Werte überhaupt noch eine Bedeutung für ihn behielten, konnten sie den Zerfall in einen Sonntags- und Alltagsmenschen nicht verhindern. Der Alltag setzte ihm andere Motive als die Bestimmung für eine nur noch temporäre Versenkung in den Willen Gottes. Das Diesseits hatte nicht nur eine eigene Bedeutung für ihn verlangt, sondern war mit seinen Bildern der eigenen Bestimmung, Autonomie, des Reichtums, der sozialen Positionen usw. Zur eigenständigen Herrschaft gelangt. Zweitens, die Gesellschaft, gesondert und geordnet in Staaten, fand durch dieselbe Entwicklung ebenfalls keinen einheitlichen Maßstab mehr, der zum kontinuierlichen Inhalt der Gesellschafts- oder Staatspolitik hätte werden können.